All right, back to the project. Our workbench is pretty well taken shape. Went ahead and painted it up with what's close to dark machine gray. It's actually closer now with the second coat than it was the first coat. It was quite blue earlier. So maybe a third coat will make it even more grayish. But still waiting for my drawer slides to come. So in the meantime, I thought I'd do the painting, go ahead and secure the top. We have all of our drawers made, and I've gone ahead and marked it out here where the cross members are across this. We're going to screw it down with some 2.5-inch screws. I'm quite pleased with how this turned out in terms of flatness without doing any more than what I did to kind of glue it up. But it's pretty darn flat all the way across here, so I'm pleased with that. So let's go ahead and get this thing screwed down. I'm going to countersink some holes first to take 2.5-inch deck screws. There, got this all screwed down. This will be nice and secure. I decided that I'd make one unplanned addition to the workbench while I'm waiting for my drawer slides to come, and that is adding a few outlets. So I think I'm going to add an outlet, a couple outlets right here underneath this lip, probably 2 in the front, and then I'm going to put some 12-gauge wire on it on the back. So when I roll this away from the wall, I won't have to unplug tools and what have you. I can just leave them plugged in and only have one cord that runs out. I did the same thing with my welding table, and that worked out pretty well. Okay, I'm using just single metal boxes here, and I've got one of these plastic Romex holders in it, and they're going to go right in here. And you can see I drilled a 1.25 inch hole, just a little bit, to form a little bit of a recess so this doesn't hold the box out. So now it fits in there nice and flush, like that. So we'll go ahead and screw those up. Then I've got the hole drilled there. I can just poke the Romex right on through. And I've got the same one over on this side. Okay, we've got our boxes installed, and the wire run through there. And I ran it right behind here so it won't interfere with the drawers or anything. And this one comes out over here. Then another circuit goes to the back where the plug-in will be. And this is an outlet box on the back where we're bringing the power from the front, 2 outlets over here, and then we'll have a service cord, 12-gauge service cord that we'll have a plug on that we can then leave plugged into the outlet. Now you might ask, why in the hell did he put this one upside down? The reason I did that was so that when these machines that sit on the bench most of the time are plugged in, they'll plug in like that instead of like that and then bang it into the wall. So I'm not going to be back here unplugging them a lot, so I really don't care, but it'll keep the cords from banging into the wall and getting bent and everything. So that's why I did it. So we're going to go ahead and wire these up now, put the duplexes in, and call it a day. We're ready to put the final top on here now. I've got a nice piece of 3/4 inch maple plywood that we're going to use for that. And one of the nice things about this workbench being on wheels is I was able to wheel it right outside here to the back of the pickup and grab this full sheet of plywood right on here and roll it back in. So that worked out pretty well. So I've already cut it down width-wise to within about 3/4 of an inch of the whole of the bench. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and glue it up, and we're going to put some clamps on it to get it and let it set, and then I'll do the final trim up on it, and then we're going to use the remainder of the 3/4 inch plywood, just put a 3/4 inch band all the way around it to kind of finish it off, and then we'll do a coat of polyurethane. So let's get started with the glue. I know this looks darn near like a science fiction movie, what I've got going here, but pretty much used all the clamps I had. And the moral of this story is, if you think you got enough clamps, you don't have enough. I've got these all clamped down, so this should be putting enough pressure in the middle. I've got it clamped all the way around the edges. I've got some good squeeze out going on. So I think we'll be all right. We're going to let it cure, and then we'll trim it up. We've got all the clamps off now. What we're going to do next is trim up the sides all the way around so that the plywood and the 2x substrate are all trimmed up equally. So let's go ahead and get started on that. As suspected, it didn't go all the way through. So we might have to clean that up with the block plane a little bit, but that'll be all right. There we go. Now, got to do the same thing to the ends here, and we'll be ready to put the banding on. Now, a lot of you guys might be asking, why doesn't it have a track saw? Well, to be honest, a good track saw is several $100s, and I don't use it that much. And my view is, unless you're building cabinets professionally, to justify the cost of a really good track saw, you probably get just as good results using this route. At least I have. If you're careful and watch out how you're cutting, you can get almost as good results, if not as good, with one of these versus, you know, a mediocre track saw. So that's how I see it, at least. Some of you guys out there might disagree and wonder why in the hell it doesn't have a track saw, but I'm not going to spend the money. There, we got everything squared up. 2 3/8 all the way around. I'm going to take a block plane and clean this up. Now right here you'll notice something that I did, cut this corner off. And you say, why did you cut the corner off? Well, I did it so it fits a little easier right over there. When I go to slide that in, it's a little bit of a tight fit. So I thought if I did that, I'll still band it, it'll just swing right in there, and it'll fit very nicely right there. So that's why I did that. Okay, we're ready to start putting the banding around the edges here. Put it right around there. And what I've done is I've set up a couple clamps to kind of hold that with some blocks so I can get it right flush to the top. So I've got these blocks flush with the top so I can pull it right up against there, and then I've got this piece cut so I can bring that in to make sure the corners fit tightly. So we're ready to glue this up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a few brads in it to kind of hold it there, and then I'm going to use brass wood screws spaced evenly along, and that will kind of give it a little accent, I guess. I don't really need to do that, but I thought, what the heck. Well, the battery went out of my camera when I was fairly well into this, putting this edging on here, and rather than stop and let the camera recharge, I decided to go ahead and finish it up without filming the entire thing. So you can see we've got this edge on here. I sanded it lightly. It actually turned out pretty well. There's a couple little issues, but for the most part, I'm pretty pleased with it. So you can see here, this is where I cut this edge off and mitered it so that it fits in the bay that I got set for it a little easier. And got some brass screws spaced along here that hopefully once they get some polyurethane on it will accent it a little bit. So along here, I've got a couple little issues, but for the most part, this is pretty flush with the top, and got it all the way around the back. And I've hit it with the sander lightly. I'm going to blow it off and get all the dust off of it, spray a little water on it, let it the grain rise a little bit, then hit it with maybe some 180 grip, and then we're going to put some polyurethane on it. Finally ready to put the drawer slides in. What I've got here, my little system, is I'll use a piece of 1/4 inch plywood, put that on the bottom, and one over here. Then I'm going to put my drawer slides up, use this little spacer. So I'm going to put the drawer slide on that while we secure it. My drawer fronts over here are going to be 3/4. I got a little scrap here that I'm going to use to shim that 3/4 inch back. So when the drawer is shut, it'll be flush with the front of the cabinet. There. And I'll put a screw in there. Now, what I'll do is I'll put these pieces attached to the drawer sides. So we'll go ahead and put those in. Just like that. Now, I'll take a drawer, and I know all these drawers are all 7 inches, so it doesn't really matter which one goes where. So now I'll set the drawer on these 1/4 inch pieces here. And then I want to set this end of this side of the slide flush with this front, just like that. Now, what we can do is we'll just keep pulling that out and put some more screws in as we go. Now we can go ahead and take our little shims out of here. Take those out. And our drawer's ready to go. So what we'll do again, this is basically a repeat process. Put these back on here. And that up there like that. And now I'll go on top of this drawer, I'll use that one again. And for shims out, and there we go. do it again. So that's kind of the process for these drawers. Once you get that little system down, you can just repeat it, and I've got to do it, 7 more times here. So we'll go ahead and get those done. Okay, we've got all of our drawer slides in, and I've actually put the faces on this one side here. So now we'll go ahead and put the faces on the other side. Now what I did, I think as I mentioned earlier, the middle bay is slightly wider than the 2 end bays. And so I've already cut these to width. Okay, what I'm going to do first before I get started on putting all these faces on, I'm going to drill some screws through here, or drill some holes through here, so that then when I get ready I can put the screw on through just a little bit to where it'll mark it, and I can put a clamp on it and then put the So by doing it this way, I can put some screws through when I get it set there, and then I can put a clamp on it and go ahead and put the screws through there. Then the top is, or the face is fastened to the drawer front. Now one thing you do have to make sure of, sometimes when you do these screws, it'll make a little dimple on the outside, and it'll hold the face away from it a little bit, and you don't want that. Now what I do, I use a couple of dimes. It's about a 1/16 or maybe even a shade less than a 1/16 for a spacer here. And I just put them right there like that. And one on each side. Put your face down there where you need it. Kind of split the space on either side. There we go. Now we can drive these screws home. There we go. So now let's go to the next one. Well, by golly, I think we've pretty much got a wrap here. Got all the drawers in, painted, pulls on, and actually all my junk is in there. So I've got plenty of storage for everything. You've got one empty drawer. So I think this is going to work real fine. I'll give you a little bit of a tour here. Okay, one thing I did is I think I put probably 4 or 5 coats of polyurethane on here on the top, so I think that kind of looks kind of nice. And you'll see here the contrast with the edge grain of the plywood. That's kind of an interesting touch, I thought, versus my original plan was to put oak around it, but I decided that I had this plywood and I just didn't need to spend the extra money. So I've got 9 drawers, 2 outlets here on the front, as we saw earlier in the video. And I've got pegboard on this end. Got my chop saw and small grinder right here for handy access. And on the back here, I made a little spooler for this extra cord that comes in here, so I can just put that around there like that and so forth, so it doesn't, when I push it up against the wall, it doesn't run over the cord. So over here in this drawer, I've got bolts and machine bolts. Here I've got nuts and washers. Over here, a bunch of various and sundry organizers of wood screws. Down here in the bottom, I got some nails, bins of nails. So I think this is going to serve me well. I've got a little bit of adjustment maybe that I need to do on these bottom 2 drawers right here that I'd mentioned earlier. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Gave you a few ideas for something for your shop. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and send me any comments that you've got so we can help out any others that might be interested in building a nice bench like this. Take care and stay tuned for the next video.